Greetings, Patrick here. Welcome to Eight Questions with. I'm your host, and glad you guys are here. It is a very warm southeastern Michigan night. We're supposed to hit up to 90 degrees this week before getting some rain. But yeah, I definitely think summer is going to be here on time, ready to rock and roll, and so are we. Um, this is really, without a doubt, one of the bigger shows I've gotten. To be honest with you, this is a show that I didn't know I could ever get. To tell you the truth, we're going to be talking with Publicist Supreme Jimmy Star. Now, Jimmy is just man, that guy's he's just loaded. Him and his partner Ron Russell, they do an interview show here on the Tube and various platforms. Um, Over a billion people, actually about 1.3 billion people, have tuned in to watch Jimmy Star at some point. Um, it just absolutely boggles my mind that for a publicist, um, I mean, a movie star like Tom Cruise, yeah, okay, I get that. Uh, but as far as a interviewer, a celebrity interviewer, a billion point three. That tells you how much clout Jimmy Star carries. You don't get a 1.3 billion views if you're not doing something right. And Jimmy is. And I've seen his show about 20, 30, 40 times. What I love about his show is like he actually does the same thing. Well, I should say I do the same thing he does, which I really appreciate. And that is Jimmy and Ron. They interview some A-listers, definitely. They talk to a lot of really big names. But what I really caught attention for, and this is the first time I saw him, was he did an interview with Mike Ferguson. I was really surprised by that because at the time Mike's a good actor and he was rising. But did I think that because there's like we're not gonna see folks like character actors or up and risers unless they get with a some sort of big push behind it. Um, you're not gonna see them on the big talk shows, the big interview shows, but you will on Jimmy Star because he'll interview Glenn Powell one day and interview Mike Ferguson the next. I love that. I absolutely love that. He's introducing young rising actors, performers. He's exposing them to a massive audience. I am dead certain that everybody who pops up on Jimmy's on his interviews, uh, I'm sure they experience a rise in their foot traffic as far as yes. Yes, that's right. Cindy from Lady Lake Music is mentioning that they frequently have the best stories, incredible resumes. We have one today who fit that exact description. No, no, nobody is going to go. I mean, if you, what I'm saying here is like someone like a Kelly Clarkson or whatnot. They're not going to go out there and tap the shoulder of an actor with 10 credits and 10 low budget indie films. That's not going to happen. They always have to have the very top of the top. And I've said this before. This is why I like doing the show this level right here, that once in a great while we'll get a big star, a big name like Jimmy Star and Ron Russell. I'm not sure if Ron will be here or not. I don't know. I asked Jimmy if we're talking to him. I don't know, but I would not be surprised. But I like the fact that talking to rising, it's more fun talking to rising stars than it is to talk to established. Not to say that I don't like talking to established stars. I do, but I really do. I mean, we've had a few here on the show. They're a lot of fun to talk to. Um, but there's something about giving someone a push upward, seeing someone rise up. There's something really fun about that. And sure, would I like some A-listers? Sure, who wouldn't, right? Um, but that's just, but I'm just as happy as talking to Jimmy Star today. And then tomorrow we're going to be talking with Owen Llewellyn, who's an actor in the UK. Now we've attempted to talk to Owen last month, but our tech problems killed it. So we're trying it again tomorrow. Owen Llewellyn is the star of the new horror franchise, the R.I.P. Man. But the fact of the matter is, if you look at his resume compared to like anybody that's coming on Kelly Clarkson or a show like that, you'll see that he's not a big of a name. If you booked him onto the show, people would be confused at who he is. Um, but but I guarantee you, he gets a shot with Jimmy Star. And a week later, you're gonna know who he is. You're gonna know because that's the kind of publicity that Jimmy can work. It takes a lot, I see I'm in a lot of independent film groups, and I see a lot of talk between the actors and the filmmakers and whatnot, and they consistently over and over and over they talk about budget, they talk about cast, they talk about location, they talk about uh, uh, format. They never talk press. Never, never, never as in, okay, I got my cast. I got halfway through the shoot. I got to start thinking about letting people know about this movie. Oh, they'll let you know about it with what they need the money, fundraising or whatnot, but they never worry about press. They never think about someone like a Jimmy Star out there that if you walked up to him and said, "Hey, I'm doing a movie. I got a fresh cast. Is there any way possible we could get an interview on your show? Talk, my two leads, my female male lead." I never see anybody talk like that. And it's like the most important thing about getting a movie made is not only after you get it made, you got to let people know about it. You can't just sit there and depend on luck. All right, the doorbell has rang, so you know what that means, right? Our guest is here. I'm glad he's here a little early because that means we get to talk to him a little longer. But those who are here, thank you for being here. Those who are watching through replay, thank you so much. Let's bring in Jimmy Star right here, right now.
Hey,
Hey, Jimmy.
can you
Uh,
hear me?
yes, honored to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. I was trying to get this to go through my ear pods, but it's not. I don't know why. Say something.
Test one, two, three. Test
All
one, two,
right, I'm
three.
going to switch to a different one. Hold on 1 second. Anyway, are you live?
Sure.
Are we live?
Yes, we are live.
Everybody,
Now, can't hear you. Now, mute now. Can't hear you. Yeah, mute. I don't know what happened. Oh, there you are. There you are.
Okay.
Oh, now we're having
I'll just screw it. I won't worry about it. Hey, how you doing?
good, good. Uh, so I'm very excited to have you here. I honestly, I watched you for like 3 or 4 years, and I know that you and Ron just tear it up. And I didn't think I'd get someone like you to come in here and sit down with me. Um, I just am impressed as hell with your career, and it's just amazing. And what I really love, I'm not sure if you caught the beginning or not, but what I really love about you, Jimmy, and you and Ron both with your show, is the fact that you'll have an A-lister one day, and then you'll have an actor maybe like 15, 20 credits just cutting their teeth. Just and often or not, you are probably their very first press. Oh, we can't. No, can't hear him. Uh, he's mute. Let me bring him on Facebook so I can let him know. Hold on 1 second. Let's see. Yeah, I can't hear him. Let me just. I think he might be out. He might have muted himself. All right. Well, it wouldn't be a show. Yeah, I know we can't hear him at all. I think he's working on it. Yeah, it wouldn't be a show at all. It wouldn't be 8 questions at all if we didn't have some sort of technical glitch. Um, all right, he's working on it now. He'll get it fixed. He's done thousands of shows, so I have no problem with that. Unless he's never. I'm not sure if he's ever worked with StreamYard or not. Oh, he has. Okay. Oh, he can hear me. Okay. Okay. Give us a 1 second while Jimmy works on his tech here. Yeah, still can't hear. Let's see. He is pinging me. Let me see what he said. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, let's do that. Let's see. Okay, and yeah, I think so too. I think he's muted. I think he's muted as well. Yeah. But we'll try to bring him back. Nope, he's going to come all the way back in. All right. Yeah, yeah. Sometimes technical problems happen. This is really ironic. Is the gentleman we're having on tomorrow's show, Owen Llewellyn? He was here last month, and boy, oh boy, did we have. Oh man, that was painful. And we just had to scrap that and come back and do it tomorrow. This is not that like on this level. This is just a mute. I'm sure it's he can fix this. But yeah, tomorrow's show, by the way, in case you're wondering, with Owen Llewellyn, that will have a start time at 3 p.m. Eastern time and noon Pacific. All right, let's get this. Let's try this again.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, we hear you now.
Okay. I don't know what happened. I have 4 podcasts and I use StreamYard for all of them, so I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, isn't it? Yeah, though I said this all the time. Is it's not a week that goes by here on 8 Questions with if we don't have a glitch during one time during the week.
Okay. Well, I apologize, everybody. So hopefully we're okay now.
Oh no, we're good. We're good. So I was saying, what I really appreciate about you, and I was watching you when I first started watching you, was the fact that you could have an A-lister one day, the next day you could have a young actor coming up, maybe 10, 15 credits, and you're more often than not their very first press. There's the first time they've ever talked to anybody about themselves, basically be interviewed to basically telling us of who they are, what they're about. And I think that's amazing, considering how big your show is.
We like
And how many
we like to mix it up and bring on all kinds of people, from all different. As long as it's in entertainment, we do entertainment industry shows, and and it also just depends on who you can get. Sometimes, you have last minute ditches where you people cancel at the last second, then you're live because my show is like live and people are already sitting there waiting for it. So you have to, fill in. But we like to give everybody an opportunity to tell us about themselves.
Yeah, that's yeah. I'm first of all, it sort of makes me feel good, makes me feel okay. It actually makes me feel good to know that even you on your level sometimes has that happen. I've had that happen before, where I've had a show at the very last minute. I had a cancellation, and you're sitting there like in a dark spot. It's a dark room because there's nobody there, and it's like, now do I do? Because I got done doing the promotion for it, and hyping it up, and then all of a sudden, like literally within in the hour, goes, yeah, we can't make it. Um, how do you handle something like that, Jimmy? I mean, as far as moving forward with a guest, like actors, yes, that happens all the time, and that is to be expected. But what happens when you do get a guest that maybe doesn't even tell you that they're canceling? They just don't
Um,
show up.
usually they will tell me, but I've had several people tell me 5 minutes before they were supposed to come on, which creates a problem. Fortunately, I'm a good talker, so and my co-host Ron Russell is a good talker. So if we have to, we can just talk and shoot the shit on our own and just make stuff up as we go along. That actually happened last week for a little while. I didn't have a second guest, but then as we were on the air, I was texting people and I got somebody to come on with us.
Yes,
So it
you are
just kind of
based in Las Vegas, right?
no, I'm in Palm Springs, California.
Wow. Okay. How do you get guests out of Palm Springs? That's
Well, it's
amazing.
just like you. I mean, like, where are you? Where are you right now?
I'm in Michigan. I'm outside of Ann Arbor, Michigan.
See, so you got me, and I'm in California, so it's like the same thing.
Yeah,
You know,
I
I
don't
mean,
know if I've ever had to do that before. To grab somebody out of there. I don't think I have that. I don't think I had that pull like that. That's
so
cool as hell.
I have like, I'm fortunate. I have about 1 million followers in social media, and probably literally like 5,000 of them are people I actually really really know, and so like I usually just try to pull from one of those.
That's cool. So how did you get into this, Jimmy? I mean, you've been doing you have a lot of different interests. I was looking at your website, Jimmy Star's World, and you have all sorts. I mean, you got your fingers in absolutely everything. It seems like. But how
As
did you
long as
get
it's
your start?
entertainment related. As long as it's entertainment related. I actually started as a celebrity clothing designer. Many, 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 many years ago, I had stores in Florida that sold my clothing. It was all one of a kind clothing. I only made one of everything that I made, and I did the costume design for Too Fast, Too Furious, and I dressed every major horror movie star and lots of big music stars and stuff. And they liked it because I only had one. I only made one of something. So if somebody was in it, I remember once I made a shirt for David Arquette, and somebody else saw it, and they came and said, "Will you make the shirt that David Arquette had on?" And I wouldn't do it because that was my whole gimmick, is that I only made one. And so I had
Uh,
a bunch of showrooms in Florida, and that's how I got started really in entertainment is as a clothing designer.
now you so always how now do you still do that on the side, or have you moved away from that?
Don't do it at all. I'm an author, a movie producer. I do 4 podcasts, and I'm a publicist, and those 4 things pretty much take up all my time.
Yes, I saw that you went from being the interviewer, the celebrity interviewer, and you recently jumped back into being a publicist. So I want to talk about that because that fascinates me most. I come from a music background myself, and I know the value of a good publicist. Absolutely worth their weight in gold. Um, so how was it? Had you ever been a publicist before, or do you think being an interviewer paved the road for you to become a publicist?
The whole publicist thing came as a fluke. About 8, maybe 8 or 9 years ago now. Um, we went on a so we had I have a business partner. Her name is Eileen Shapiro, and the name of our company is World Star PR. And we went on I met her actually. A publicist booked her on my show because she had a book that she was promoting, and we decided to do a ghost hunt with a medium, Kadrosha Ono Karol, who's like a ghost medium person, and Ricky Rebel, who is a pop star who was on Madonna's record label, and we went to an insane asylum, an abandoned insane asylum, and did a ghost hunt. And we did it, and it went viral. It got like 300,000 views, and we all met through the same publicist. And so Eileen called me the next day, and she said, "Do a lot of publicists go to you and ask you to, help them with getting things for their clients?" And I said, "All the time." And she said, "Me too." And then she said, "Do you ever make any money?" And I said, "Not a penny." And she said, "Me neither." And then she said, "We should come up with, a PR firm and see if we could do publicity." And I said, "Okay." And the next day we came up with the name World Star PR, and within 2 weeks we had about 10 clients. And it's just
Yeah.
built from there because we've been named best entertainment publicists by a bunch of different organizations. Um, so we're pretty good at it.
I mean, why do you think that a lot of people in the entertainment business, it does seem like, unless they're very top of the food chain, and like you will see them on you see them on all the late night shows or what have you, or daytime shows. But it seems like, I was mentioning before you got here, a lot of filmmakers, they will, making a film, they'll do everything right except for one thing. They never use a publicist. Or they never get their cast interviews or any publicity at all. Um, why do you think that happens on the lower level? I mean, it's right there on the, when you, like I said, you look at shows on daytime, at night. We see the big stars out there talking, but we never see that really here on my level. They just don't seem to
People don't
understand.
I think people don't get that it's a business. Everything that you're doing is a business, and all businesses need help, being promoted. They don't really realize how important it is. It's like when people make movies, like let's say they make a $100,000 movie and they spend all $100,000 and they don't leave any money to market it or promote it. So the movie doesn't go anywhere because if you don't market and promote it, who's going to ever see it? Extra stop. Sorry, that's my dog. Extra
Chipping in.
stop. And so people don't get that everything that we do is a business, and you have to treat it as such. Everything I do is a business. I run my podcast as a business. My PR firm is a business. I make movies, and when I promote them, and that's a business. Um, everything I do is, and I'm an author. I look at all of it in a business sense, as opposed to I'm a creative. But if you're a creative and you don't have a business sense, it makes it a lot harder to be successful.
Right. Let me ask you this too. I'm curious. How many times have you been on the other side like you are tonight? Like you talking about yourself. Is it easy for you to talk about yourself, or are you more comfortable asking the questions to your guests?
Um, I can do either. Honestly, I've probably in the last 15 years, I've probably done, I don't know, maybe 500 of these interview type things. I don't really do them very often anymore because I'm just always more interested in promoting my clients and stuff than me. But a really good friend of mine, actually, who was on your show, Cindy Diadamo from Lady Lake Entertainment. Yeah, she told me I should start promoting myself more, and so that's why I've been doing a few of these lately.
Yeah.
She's from Lady Lake.
She's right. I mean, watching your show. I mean, like I said, I've been watching you and Ron, and it's just like I never reached out because I'm thinking there's just no way in hell this guy is, these two guys, Ron and yourself, you guys, got the heavy hitters on there. Actually thought you were based in Las Vegas,
No,
but Palm Springs is a very nice place to be based out of. It's very central. You're
yeah,
out of the rat race of LA. I mean, you're out of the rat race of LA, and you don't have to worry about that. And then you got beautiful weather 24, all year round. Um,
it's actually summer.
so
It's too hot. Very hot in the summer. Like
yeah,
really, really. Like it's up to like 130. It's too hot. Uh,
yeah,
but I
it
actually
definitely can
broadcast
be.
at a state. I broadcast at a station out of Florida, actually, because I started at the station in Florida. So I've been on the same station for 18 years. They didn't even have a thing called podcast when I started. It was just a radio show. Um, so we've been on the air for 18 years, and we just broke 1.3 billion downloads.
Yeah, isn't that correct? Isn't
And
that that's insane?
today, the podcast rankings came out, and we are the number one film interview shows on Apple Podcasts were the number one show.
Not surprising. Not surprising. I'm gonna go to the chat real quick. Say hi to everybody here. We just mentioned Cindy. Cindy is here with us, and Jamie Hill is here, and she is an actress based out of Canada. I don't know if you've interviewed Jamie or not, but if you haven't, that might be a candidate. She was in a really good movie. But yeah, look, see, you got to hype up somebody, right? Jamie did a movie called Skinamarink. That is probably getting a lot of people rewatching it this week.
I've
Yes.
actually seen it. It did really. It's a very low budget film that did really well. We always pay attention to that because I'm a big horror movie aficionado.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So, well, should we ask you what you thought about Back Rooms?
I didn't see it yet.
Bring pillows. Bring pillows.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll need them. Yeah. That's just how I call it.
There you go. Now, I haven't seen a whole bunch of those lower. Like, I didn't see like what the Winnie the Pooh one or the Mickey Mouse one. I didn't really watch any of them. A bunch of those movies contacted to come on my show, but they didn't want. But they wanted me to bring on like the lower level, people that were in the film, which would have been fine, except for that I wanted stars of the film,
Right.
and they wouldn't give it to me, so they wouldn't compromise, so I just passed on them.
I don't get that. It's like, I mean, on one hand, I can admire them wanting to get their cast on there. I appreciate that. I do. But two, it's like, no, read the room. That's something you come to someone on my level and sit there and say, hey, can you interview the lower cast? No problem. I'll do it. But like we're not going to see, these people on the network TV shows. We're not going to see those people. We're not going to see your main cast. There is like a ladder to it, a level to it in doing publicity. What do you think the mistake is with people who ask major publicists? What's the biggest mistake they make in talking to them, insisting on the?
It comes out to attitude, I think. Mostly like the attitude of how they do things. Like the reason I didn't bring those people on was because I didn't like the way the publicist approached it. They didn't approach it just like being really like nice and friendly. They approached it more like they have something that I need, and I don't need anything.
No,
Just
no,
be
you
nice
don't.
and be friendly and be cool. Be nice, be friendly, be cool, and let's see if we can, make it all work. And that's all fine. But when you come and like, oh, the stars are too big to come on your show or something like that, then I'm not going to bring the other people on, because it doesn't make any sense, especially since none of them are. I mean, I've had bigger people than any of those films that have in them,
Yes.
in my past. So, so I try to
people
nice.
Do you think when you get approached like that, Jimmy, is it more because they're just straight out intimidated by you, and so they sort of have to fluff up their own fur so they can feel like they can hold their own and asking you for a guest spot, or are they really that stupid and arrogant?
I think they're that arrogant. I really do.
Wow.
Because it's funny because in everything that I've ever done, it's always the people who are on the cusps, or maybe they were on a reality show or something, and they got a little bit of notoriety, but they're not really famous. Those are always the people that have worse attitudes than the people who are really big.
Right.
Somehow it's like they had their 15 minutes of fame, and those always seem to be the worst ones out of anybody that we've ever had on any of the interviews I've ever done.
I have never even thought about approaching anybody like that. I just that has never floated my boat at all. I've always wanted to, like when I got Jamie to come onto the show, I was so excited because she had done two movies that I knew about, and I was so happy to get her to come on and talk about her career. To me, someone on a reality show, I mean, I just that's why they have Us Magazine for. They can go that
That's
route.
Right. That's hilarious.
Just checking go back to the chat real quick. Let's see. Okay, Jamie. Yes. I will definitely do that. Cindy. Yeah, you need to. I'll get Jamie's information and send it to you, or or Jamie can send it to you. So definitely.
I'm trying
Let's see.
I'm trying to sign in. Let's see if it'll let me. Uh, okay. Let's see. Okay, here you go. Now I'm in there too.
Oh, okay. Yep. Yeah. By all means. And also, let me go ahead while I'm here. I already have Jimmy's. I have Jimmy's. His show already in the links down below, but I'm going to put it in our chat here so people can come by and check that out. So if you want to come over and meet Jimmy and whatnot, and here is his YouTube channel, and you can go ahead and sub to it. Yeah, you got crazy numbers. I mean, now I notice your interviews are generally clocking in between 20 and 40,000 views, right? I mean, um, that's just absolutely insane. Okay, so let's go back to where you first started. So you started out as a clothes designer, made one of a kind pieces, which I'm sure are very collectible now. Um, so what did you do next after that? I mean, as far as how did you get how did you get your idea to start your interview show?
So I did it being a clothing designer. I would go to like I lived in Florida, so I went to Spooky Empire a lot. Their horror conventions, they did them, and I would go and I would take racks and racks of clothes and put them in my room, and then I would go buy a VIP pass at the beginning to go meet all the celebrities, and then I would go and introduce myself and tell them I was a clothing designer and I make cool clothes and I'd love to show them some of them. And then if they said yes, they would come to the room and then we would become friends. I'd give them some clothes, we'd become friends, and then they would come on the show. So my first guess within like 90 days, I had Malcolm McDowell and Lance Henriksen and, you know, uh, Dreamweaver Gary Wright. And I had all these like huge people right off the bat, and that's how I got them to come on the show originally. And then we became friends, and it just expanded from there.
How important is word of mouth when it comes down, even today? How important is word of mouth?
It's
In
everything.
it is, isn't it?
It's
It really
everything.
is. You got a reputation for your fun interview style. What are some of the pitfalls of doing an interview show like yours? I mean, what are some of the things you try not to you try to avoid? Um, like me, I never try to get into anybody's I keep it to a certain level, but I don't want to seem to be anybody to pry. But you want to walk a fine line as far as also sharing information, about the guest, but at the same time not being one of those people. How hard is it to walk that line?
I don't worry about that line. I just ask whatever, and Ron asks whatever, and if they don't want to answer it, I guess they just don't answer. But they usually do answer it, especially for Ron. He can ask people anything, and they'll always answer.
Yeah, that's a gift. Let me
Yeah,
tell you.
no, it is.
Now, what happens is in a situation where the first time you sat down with the first guest you had, were you starstruck a little bit? I mean, going on a convention floor and gifting some clothes is awesome, and it's one thing, but sitting down across from somebody who's really a well-known name for the first time, and then sitting there and asking them questions, that could also be very intimidating. So, were you?
No, my very first show, I was intimidated. Not, I wasn't intimidated. I was just nervous because I had never really done it. But I had a lot of radio experience before I started the show. If you remember back in the day, they had a TV show called Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, and
Yes.
it was a really popular TV show. And they did a radio version on Y100, which is Y100 and Z100 in New York. And I was the fashion guy for that. For like 3 or 4 months, we were on the radio almost every day, and so I kind of, you know, got all my nerves out there doing that. Answering questions, people would call in and ask fashion questions and stuff, and we had, all the same categories. We had the pop culture guy and the cook guy, whatever they had on Queer Eye. So did that a lot. So that was uh, pretty much the way it works for me. So I really didn't have a problem. I don't really get nervous. I've every once in
Uh,
a while, I've been tongue-tied. I've met somebody and I
yeah,
got tongue-tied, and I don't even know why. Like, when I met, Tara, what's her name? Tara I met Tara Reid, and I got all tongue-tied, and I don't know why, because 'cause I'm not even that big a fan. I mean, I think she's fun, but it's just weird. Every once in a while, though, there'll be somebody who gets me going a little bit, but not really very often.
that's a really good name to bring up here. So, and talk about this for a second. So let's say the Terrace publicist calls you and says, "Hey, I want you to get on. Could you go ahead and Terrace got a couple new projects coming out. Let's would you be willing to talk to her?" But of course, Tara also has like a ton of luggage. Is there any? Do you look at her at like a risk as far as a guest goes? Like you know, will she be able to stay on the rails? How is she going to show up? Will she show up able to talk to you, or because sometimes maybe she can't. Um,
I
what do
don't
you do
ever
with?
worry about I don't ever
No,
worry
not
about
really.
that. Here's the one thing that I always make sure I don't that wouldn't be a reflection on me, that would be a reflection on her. If she comes up and she's somehow incapacitated, I make it a point not to bring up no matter who I have on, like, if I had somebody on and they got arrested for picking up a tranny or they, had a drug bust or any of those things, we would never bring any of that up in an
Right,
interview because my interviews are
right,
just positive interviews to have a good time. So I don't ever bring up any of their baggage. Um,
right,
and so we would never have to worry about that. And the rest of it, it just depends on what they do.
right. I
Uh,
absolutely agree. I don't do that either. It's not my business. Um,
right.
uh, wow. Okay. So has that happened for where you have booked a guest and they've come in there slightly off kilter?
Haven't really had that happen. The only problems I have is, like, we had a problem at the beginning of this show. Like, I have a lot of people that come on that can't figure out StreamYard, or that have bad internet, and those are really my only
Yeah.
problems that we really have.
Yeah.
StreamYard takes up a lot of juice, so, like, if it doesn't, if you don't have good internet, it doesn't work all that great always.
Let's see. Lady Valerie is here. Welcome in, Lady Valerie. Uh, I think. Let's see. What's the? Well, I won't say that. I'm going to have to reframe that. I'll reframe it this way. Where? So we got a question going like, who was the worst guest you ever interviewed? I don't know if the worst would be. Is that a word that you would use in terms of having a bad interview, like the
I
worst
think
guest, or would you?
you can have bad interviews with people who don't answer in complete sentences. I don't know if it's ever happened for you, but once in a while you'll interview somebody and they answer everything with a yes or a no
Yes.
without any details. So those are the worst guests that you would ever have. And uh, and I've never interviewed Kevin Hart or Dwayne Johnson, although I've been in movies with Dwayne Johnson before.
It's funny because I actually because I interview fellow YouTubers as well, people I like, and I interviewed this one guy who I thought was going to be so much fun. He was so outgoing and energetic, and I'm like, man, he'll be a great guest. I got him on the show, and boy, it was exactly what you said, Jimmy. It was like yes or no, and I was sitting over here just dying because I was like, how can I? What the hell happened? And I was trying to figure out. I don't know how to figure that out on the fly all the time. It's like, how do the only thing I was thinking was, oh, thank God this wasn't like a known person, like this is just my friend here, but he's killing me. Um, so what are some of the tricks of the trade when you know that you got sort of a stinker on your hands that it's not going to go as well as you had hoped for? Do you have any tricks up your sleeve to, of course, having a co-host is tremendously helpful. But do you have any tricks up the sleeve to save the interview?
The co-host helps a lot. My co-host is extremely talented. And do I have any tricks up my sleeve? Not really. I have had a bunch of interviews where I've actually cut the interview short. Maybe it was scheduled for 40 minutes and we only talked 20 minutes, because we can't get anything out of them. And I'd rather talk with ourselves and try and save it.
Wow, that's yeah. I've had I've like me as far as that goes. Yeah, I just try to plow through. I try to hit my mark every interview if I can. But yeah, but I hadn't had that happen very often. I only had it happen like 2 or 3 times. So I'm really blessed in that respect.
I've
But I'm
only
with
had
you
one
about the time.
really I was gonna say I've only had one really bad, I mean significantly bad interview, and, we actually stopped our whole show that day. Um, Even though we were live, I asked my engineer, "Can we just, like, quit the show?" Because I didn't have a second guest, I don't think, and that was with a British singer, Samantha Fox. What a bitch. She's, like, the biggest bitch on the planet. She was so terrible, and the people in the chat room were freaking out because she was such a bitch, and my husband, who's my co-host, Ron, he got up and just left. He's like, "I'm not even gonna sit here for this piece of shit." And, it was really, really bad, and so we ended up just cutting the show out and stopping for the day, and we didn't do it complete the whole show, and it's the only time it's happened, and we've been on the air for 18 years.
Wow. uh, Cindy's agreeing with you. She said that was it was bad.
And she was,
Um,
like, just totally, like, wasted or something. So, I mean, I know she had some, past brushes with bad experiences with drugs and alcohol and stuff, and I think she must have been wasted or something, but she was really, really nasty, though.
got a question for me. Pat, did you interview Tom Savini too? No, I have never interviewed Tom Savini. I have actually never seen anybody interview Tom Savini, to tell you the truth.
I've interviewed him.
Uh, how was it?
It was fine.
I got it.
Tom Savini,
Was it?
he's a really you know what? Tom Savini is like a hit or miss kind of guy. He's super
Yes.
talented and he's super, super nice, but there's times when you can meet him and he's just a dick. And
I,
that's just the
I've
way
met the
he is.
man 3 times. I met the man 3 times at 3 different conventions, and he's been a dick all 3 times.
Yeah, so that's just the way it is. You know what? I have a video series out though called Jimmy Stars the Shit, and he's on the video, and he says, "Hey, I'm Tom Savini, and Jimmy Stars the Shit," and I've gone out to dinner with him, and I went to Disney World with him for Halloween Horror Nights, and he came shopping in my he's come shopping in my store. That when I used to have my stores in Florida and stuff. So for me, 90% of the time he was really nice, but when he wasn't nice, he was like a number one asshole.
What's that saying? Be careful about meeting your heroes. Um,
Yes.
has that happened on you? Have you ever met somebody who you really were pumped up to get? You're going like, hell yes, this is gonna be an awesome show. You all psyched up for it, and all of a sudden, they're not necessarily an asshole, but they're not exactly who you thought they would be. And how do you handle something like that? How do you handle a guest like that? Like, wow, you were really I was so happy. I was so happy to have you, and then afterwards you're just left like, I don't know if I'll have that back. Have that person back, or maybe they're having a bad day. Um, because there's a
I know.
difference, isn't there? Jimmy, do you feel there's a difference between a guest when you ask them to come onto the show versus a publicist asking them to come onto the show? I would think that when you ask them and they come, it's because it's 100% you. They want to hang out with you. And when a publicist brings it to them, they're there because they have to be there, not because they
I don't
want
do
to.
too many. I don't do too many publicist interviews. I have a few publicists that I've worked with that give me some really good guests, but most of the time I reach out to everybody on my own to get
Yeah.
the guests. And and I've had a lot of people who I thought were going to be really good who were not good, and I've had a lot of people who I thought maybe weren't going to be too good who ended up being really good.
Yeah, I could tell which ones those are because they were return guests. Like I scroll through the backlog of your shows, and I see a lot of the same faces pop up on the show, and I'm going like, these must be extremely entertaining people for you to have them come back. And
Oh yeah.
I think I do you like do you like having return guests, or is it just something sometimes you need to do when you do need to fill the hole?
No, no, we love having return. I love having return guests. It's a lot of fun. A lot of times, if the people who've been on a bunch of times, that means I have an actual real rapport with them. We probably go do things together. I do have a Arc Love Rush. We have these musicians, these famous musicians in England, and they come on like every 3 months. Just for whatever new they have on, because so many people like them, and we have a great rapport with them, and it's a lot of fun. So I think that uh, it just makes the whole thing fun. So we have a lot of people who come on all the time, and then I have a few people that are my go-tos if I need a guest in a hurry. And when we bring those people on, and a lot of times those are people that I'm like doing movies with, or I just know really, really well. That's how I can get them to come on so fast.
You mentioned you're also a movie producer. So how did you get involved in that? And would we know some of the movies that you produced?
Oh yeah. Um, I have produced 43 films. I have a couple films out right now on Tubi. One is called The Beast Inside. One of them's called Purgatorium. But hang on, let me look. I don't even remember any of these things. But yes, I've done a lot, and I have about 8 or 9 movies that I'm working on now. Several of them with Lady League Music, who's in the chat room with Cindy. She's working on a bunch of them with me, actually. Um, but I like horror movies, so I have a bunch of horror movie stuff that I've done. I think I have 8 or 9 movies right now. I have a movie that's coming out called Compatible. I haven't even seen it yet. That's kind of like a fun one, and I'm working on a bunch of films. Clown Motel 3 is getting ready to come out, and I'm a producer on that, and I'm working on a bunch of new films. But if you go to IMDb and just plug in Jimmy Star, you can see like all the different films that I've either been in or I've been a producer on. There's a lot of them.
Let's see.
Makes it fun. Just makes it fun. I like to do all of it. Uh, isn't that funny? I'm like looking through them, but I don't see a little thing that says just the ones I produced on. Uh, but it makes it fun. What are you gonna do?
Got some activity in the chat. Let me catch up for sure. And then we're going to get back to horror movies because now that I know this, now we're going to be asking us about some horror. Let's see. And to me, it's a whole new wave of opportunity for both of us, it looks like. So our friend James is here from the podcast, The Friendly Men. How are you doing, sir? Glad you're here. Thank you for listening to us on the way home. And he's going to stop and get a Dairy Queen before he makes it home. I love that. James is known for his love of blizzards. Let's see. Yeah, it's blizzards. I was trying to think of, is that the right thing to call it? Let's see. Someone wants to know if you talked to Donald P. Borchers. I don't know who that is. Yeah, I don't know who that is either. Let's see. And it says Donald's a great guy. I have to look him up. If you say he's good, then I'm gonna go check him out. There's another gentleman from the podcast, The Friendly Men. It's our good friend Ant from Ant Review Things. So yeah, this is a good one. This is like one of the bigger. This is definitely one of the biggest guests I've ever had on the show, bar none. So a lot of the questions I'm asking you, Jimmy, quite honestly, they're sort of educational questions because I'm trying to pick up everything that you're putting down. Because I would like to achieve some sort of a success on your level. You have done just a tremendous job, and if you haven't seen Jimmy and Ron in action, highly recommend it. Their show runs about 2 hours. Generally, they feature not one, but they actually feature 2 different guests. And how do you do that? I mean, do you have like a timer? Because you guys are live, right? You do your show live. So do you have like a timer set down? Like you have 2 guests coming on and you got a 2-hour time limit. I take it that's for the podcast. How do you keep track of that? Especially if you're like just rolling. This guest you've had on, it's just amazing. You're having a great time. And next thing you know, your hour is almost up. Have you ever pushed back another guest?
No. I keep set times. Everybody's got a set time. My show is from 12 to 2 p.m. Pacific time. We do 12:15 and 1:10 for the 2 guest times, and we end it. It's not really 12 to 2. It's 12 to 1:50. And so the first guest gets about 55 minutes. I usually put the bigger guest on first, and the second guest gets 40 minutes.
Okay, that's a little different. Most of the time, you always start off with the lesser guest, and then come out with your headliner.
Yeah,
But
I
you
do
do
it
it
the other way
differently.
around because a lot of times, people that are listening will always tune in at the very beginning. And so if you have your
Uh,
lesser guest at the beginning, they might not stay for the second guest. It just depends. You never know because you never know what shows are going to be a hit and what shows are not.
right? Yes, yes. You just roll the dice on that and hope that they're entertaining. course, a lot of times you find the smaller guests, the ones that people, you think, well, people aren't really don't know who they are, but you end up finding out that they're sometimes some of the very best guests.
Oh yeah, we've had some great ones. We've been
Um,
fortunate. We've had a lot of good ones. Like our very first really big number guest was John Barrowman. I don't know if you know who John Barrowman is, but he was
oh
in
yeah, Doctor Who,
he's in Doctor Who, and then he was in the spin-off, and then he was in uh that
Arrow.
other show,
He
Arrow.
was in
Yes,
Arrow.
he was in Arrow. He actually lives down the street from me, and but he didn't. But I didn't live here when he came on the show, and he was our very first guest to hit 10 million plays.
Wow.
Uh,
Yeah,
so we got 10 million plays with just that one show.
yeah, he's a tremendous actor. Tremendous, tremendous.
And
What a great
out.
gimmick.
He came out with a blow up doll, and so as soon as the screen turned on him, he was making out with a blow up doll. He was very entertaining, and
Um,
put him together with my co-host, and they were both like cracking everybody up.
what gets to surprise you with just how good they were? Like you didn't, you don't know them from Adam. Um, next thing you know, you bring them on and they're just entertaining as hell.
We had I have to look at some pictures. Let me just see. Um, I don't know. My favorite guest I think of all time was Sharni Vincent. Sharni Vincent is an Australian actress who is in one of the Step Up dance movies or whatever, but she was also in um, Bait, which is a shark movie, and her really big horror movie was, oh my god, I can't think of it. She's like one of my all-time favorite actresses though, and she called in from Australia, and she was really cool. And we got 18 million plays on it, I think.
Wow. Why do
And
some guests do? Why do you think some guests do better than others?
I don't know. Oh, she was in the movie You're Next, which was a really big horror movie, You're Next, back in the
Right.
2011. Um, and I don't really know. She promoted it a lot. I don't know why some people are like better than others. I really don't. But she was in Step Up 3D. I don't know. I just love her. Like if I was straight, she would have been my ultimate girl. She was so gorgeous, and she's a great actress, and so she was a lot of fun. And then we had Bruce Valanche come on. I think he got about 20 million plays too, and he just has a big following because he's a famous comedian and he's kind of like a gay icon. Um,
Yeah,
but
before I took this show online here from YouTube, I did it written, and Bruce, I got asked to ask, someone asked me, can you have Bruce Valanche to come onto the show, to do an interview with him, so I was, like I said, I was doing it I was just writing it at the time, so I emailed him and I asked him, if he willing to come on. I sent him two samples of the show and everything else, of the interview series. Wow, my it was not a pleasant experience. Yeah, it was not pleasant. He was not very
oh,
nice to me at all.
he was
He didn't
super
know me
nice.
from,
But
yeah,
I have a bigger following than he does. People are generally nice to me because most of the celebrities that come on our show, even though they're madly, wildly, way more famous and known than I am, they don't have the social media pull that I have, and so that helps a lot. Because people
uh,
kind of like respect you more just because of that. Which
yes, I
is what I
mean,
advise everybody to do. I advise everybody to like work on their social media. It's super duper important all the way around.
it is definitely a big calling card when you come in there with over 1 billion views, like, the kind of the kind of action you bring to the table. It's very hard to ignore that, no matter what level of stardom you're at. I don't care if you're top of the line A-lister. When someone comes in there with 1.3 billion views and counting, it's somebody who, if they're asking you to come on onto their show, you have to at least consider it. Um, Now, here's one I was going to ask you too, because I don't do it myself, but do you ever get publicists that come at you and they'll sit there and say, I want you to interview, if I have a guest, I have a clientele list, and if you want to interview any of these people on my list, it'll cost you money. Have you ever paid for a guest, Jimmy? And
Never.
what's your opinion about that?
I'm media. I'm giving them exposure that they need more than I need them, and I don't think anybody should ever pay for a guest. I think that's ridiculous. And the bigger you get, the less. I have had a couple of guests celebrity guests that I've reached out to and asked them to come on, and they asked if they were going to get paid, and I said no. Um, and actually, because they want to get paid to come on, I wouldn't have them on because they asked me that question.
Right.
Because it's probably not going to be a good interview then anyway.
No.
Um,
No one's
you know,
ever, no one's, no one's ever done that to me. No one's ever, wanted to have me pay them. But I've had friends in that position where they've been asked, like if you want me to come onto your show, it'll cost you $500, and it's like, it's like, please, no.
I would never. Yeah, I just wouldn't. I wouldn't. I would never do it. Uh, I get it that that people want to like get paid or whatever, but if you get seen in a good interview and the interview does well, that's another opportunity for somebody who's making a movie to hire you.
Um, what do you do as far as like, because now it's easy to get when you have as much success as you've had, as much, and obviously we've established you've had so much. Do you still ever see improvement for your craft? I mean, do you ever rewatch your shows and take notes on how you can become, like a missed opportunity question, a question I asked here? Do you still ever, are you your own worst critic, or are you pretty happy with the way that you've done it so often that you pretty much know everything, all the buttons you need to hit?
You know what? I don't even worry about it. You know what? If we have mistakes on my show, I leave them in there. If somebody gets
Yeah.
knocked off, for their internet, we leave it in there. And, it's just what you see is what you get. However it is how it is. And I think people like that. They shows that it's real. And so I don't really, I don't even worry about it. Like, and I don't ever really watch my shows over again. Sometimes I clip out little really funny parts to put on my social media. Um, and like one of the shows that was just surprisingly great for me. Do you ever see the movie Wolf Creek?
Yes.
Wolf Creek 2. So we had the guy who plays the Wolf Creek guy on, and he did all kinds of lines, saying, he was like, he was like, oh, I haven't been to America lately. Everybody in America is like a cunt or something. I'm like, he was saying like all these funny lines, and I cut them up in little clips and put them on social media, and it was hilarious. And I got tons of plays, and he was remarkably a remarkably fabulous guest, to have, especially if you like the Wolf Creek movies and TV show.
Right. Right. Um, I am so like you. I'm really feeling comfortable here because here I run the show exactly the same way. I leave all my bumps and bruises in. Now I know James is probably still in the room here, and James is a master editor, um, and his shows always look so polished. I like the rawness too, though, Jimmy. I mean, like sometimes unless it's really bad tech issues, like the one I did with my guest yesterday, coming up. I mean, our guest tomorrow, who I had on last month, we had to reschedule. It's one of the few times I've ever had to do that, where it's like it's just too bad to save. So we said, I tell you what, we'll just come back in a month and redo it. But otherwise, I leave all the bumps and bruises in, like today's glitch. That's in the show. I'm not going to take it out. It's part of yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
It's real. It makes everything look real, and that's just the way it is. And because we over 18 years, we've had tons of glitches. Especially now. Now we have StreamYard and stuff. But when things used to be on Skype, oh my God, we would have so many problems with Skype. It wasn't even funny back in the day. And all things would get messed up, and we just kept them all in, and that's just the way it is. I
And
think that's
actually,
actually why people like us. I think that's why people actually liked it because it comes across as really real.
let's see. Oh, thank you so much, Jerry. I appreciate that. We are shouting out again your YouTube channel. I'm gonna shout out Jimmy's World. Wow, all that. Even though the links are in the bottom, we're still gonna throw them out here. That way, you guys go ahead and hit Jimmy's page. You can bookmark it for. It's yeah. There's a lot to look at on his homepage. Now, I want to talk a little bit more about the horror movie because because I'm actually in a group of I don't know. I'm don't see it myself that way anymore. but I'm sort of, I guess, in the horror community group here on my small corner of YouTube. I think of myself more as a variety channel, but I do love horror, and I cover a lot of different horror, not just your normal one, um, which I'm really happy about. Are you? What do you look? What scares Jimmy? I mean, what kind of movies? What kind of horror movies did you watch growing up? What do you think of the? What do you think of it now? And what movies have disturbed you?
So the most disturbing movie that I've ever seen is called Martyrs. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it's called
Yeah,
Martyrs.
yeah, I love
I
it.
had a very I'm not even religious, and I had a very hard time watching it because it's just too much for me. It was really freaked me out. I like a lot of the normal stuff. Like I'm a big Scream fan. I was an extra in The Lost Boys. I love The Lost Boys. My favorite vampire movie is Near Dark, with Lance Henriksen. Lance Henriksen's my all-time favorite actor. Um, I'm friends with Pinhead. I'm friends with Robert Englund. I'm friends with Clive Barker, so I like all the Clive Barker stuff. I'm big, really like the Saw movies a lot. That torture porn stuff works a lot for me. And I've had a bunch of people from the Saw movies on the show. Matter of fact, we had James Wan on the show uh, back in the
Wow.
day, which for me was like a huge thing.
Yeah.
Um, so I basically though I love Pinhead. I love horror movies. I'm actually have my own horror movie that we're working on with Cindy Lady Lake and Jennifer James. It's called The Legend of Bunny Man, and it's a urban legend Bunny Man with a twist to it. But we've already got I've got action figures for it, and I have
Nice.
stuffed plush animals, and I have candles and stickers. I already have all the merchandise, and I think we're going to be going into production sometime in like the next 90 days for it. It's going to be really, really cool. Um,
Now, now notice this for anybody who's watching the replay or anybody in now or a filmmaker now. See what you've done already. You've already laid down even before you shot a single frame. You've already worked on publicity, and what I mean by that means I'm not talking about going out there and pounding the crowd funding, like we're doing another movie. I'm talking about publicity. Like this is the movie that we're doing. It's gonna be coming out soon. Here's some of the gear that's attached to it. You can get. We got you're already putting the name and the movie out already.
this,
That's
this is
amazing. It's
this
smart.
is the Bunny Man Brew Killer Carrot Cake coffee that we're coming out with. This
Oh wow.
is a jelly bean candle with the axe and blood on the top, and it's actually like a jelly bean flavored candle that's coming out. Um, I have an 18-inch plush animal coming out for it. We have statues. I have a 12-inch action figure, a 3.5-inch action figure, a 6-inch action figure. I have all kinds of stuff, and it's already been made. Like I already have all of it. So
Wow.
as soon as we raise money and the movie's popular, we will go into production, and we'll have the actual items also that we'll be selling with the film.
Oh, that's so smart. I think that's really smart. And about halfway through the shoot, is that where you're going to turn around and start doing like publicity interviews? Trying to get to your cast online. For the
I'll do
media.
that. We'll start doing that as soon as we get the funding and the cast is actually attached. We'll start right away. I've already made about maybe 100 different promos for it that have been put up in social media, and we're at about 3.5 million plays of the different promos that I've put out for it already. And we've been covered a lot in Dark Frights Horror News, which is darkfrights.com, and it'll just keep getting better as we go along.
Now, with the lack of physical media, with the falling away of physical media as we know it, how does what you're doing as far as publicity for the film, does that raise does that make publicity even more important than it was, say, 10 years ago? Where you could make a movie, put it on the shelves, people will find it, magazines, what have you. But it seems like all that is shrinking. Like there's print magazines are they're either gone or they come out like once every 4 months. or every 3 months, every
Everything's
quarterly.
online. Everything is online and everything is social media. Social media is like, I'm not kidding you, it's like the most important thing that there is. Really. I mean, like, that's why I'm on it all the time, and I'm promoting things for it all the time. But social media
What?
is huge. And also just to get your fans and followers engaged, like one of the things that you do by interacting with all the people in the chat room, that we do that too, and that's a super important thing because that lets everybody in the chat room know that they're an important part of your show,
Oh God, I
and that
wouldn't
how
be
much
here
they
without them.
support, yeah, and how much their support means, and that's how you build. Basically how you build everything. So you treat everybody well and treat the people who are supporting what you're doing like they're gold, because they are. Without them, you're nothing.
Let's see. Speaking of that, let me roll over to the chat and say hi to Doc Kaiju. Hey Doc, how are you? Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hail Gigan. Hell yeah. My boy got it. That's right. Uh, who's your favorite Godzilla monster, Jimmy?
Oh, I don't know. I actually love Godzilla. Like, I collect a bunch of action figures. I have this really cool one it's remote control and it lights up with pink all the way down its back, and then it walks and it smokes. I collect action figures. I don't know if I actually told you that, but I have a huge action figure collection. I also have a podcast collector's corner with Jimmy Star, and
I saw that.
matter of fact, on my desk, this never leaves because Lance Henderson's my favorite action figure. So this is Lance Henderson from Millennium. I have a signed one also, but this is the one that sits on my desk for a million years. And this is a really collectible ghost face from the last Scream that just came out, from Scream 7, and it's not like a real widely made one. It's more like limited edition. And so they both sit on my desk. But Lance
You
Henderson
got the
always sits on my desk.
you mentioned the Millennium. Man, that was a fucking great show. I
My
have a
favorite.
season of that. Yeah, I have a season of that. I'm still looking for the other two, but I do got one season of Millennium.
Oh, I have all
And
three. I have all three signed by Lance Henderson.
I gotta find them still. Doc mentioned Hale Gigan. I'm not sure. No, I'm sure you know who Gigan is. He's
Yes.
the first. He's the first one who on screen made Godzilla bleed.
Oh, I didn't know
I
that.
gotta hype up our boy. Let's see. As far as let's see, let me catch up. Yeah, we have merch now. Cindy mentions about for the movie. Um, Jamie mentions she loves the Saw movies. I love the I'm Haunted movies. That's right. I gotta pump up my girls here, Jamie and Elizabeth. They did a this. I'm not sure if you've seen this or not. I have to send this to you, Jimmy, because you'll love this. But they did a web series, sort of like how Backrooms got started, except this one's good. Um, it's called I'm Haunted, and it was made by Brendan Rhines and stars Elizabeth Chamberlain and Jamie Hill here. They made it like a webisode, and then they made a feature film out of it. It's so much fun. It's like found footage, but it's so much fun. And Elizabeth Chamberlain should be a big star. She is tremendous. Very, very good. But that was a lot of fun. Let's see. I love the Saw movies. Yes, yes. That's a coffee and candles. Let's see. And Jamie says our new one, Contamination, comes out tomorrow. Our new one. All right. We are killing it on socials. So let's talk a little bit about that. What advice would you give to someone like me, myself, or anybody in the chat here? How do you what is the best platform for social media, and how do you make it work for you?
I think the best platforms are probably TikTok and Instagram right now. They change all the time. Facebook is really
Right.
good for an older audience. I'm old, so Facebook is good for an older audience. But TikTok and Instagram are probably the best. I used to be really popular on well, Twitter, which is now X, and I have a couple 100,000 followers there, but it's not good like it used to be. But Instagram
Mhm.
is probably where I'm the strongest, and I get the most results. But I love TikTok. TikTok's a lot of fun too, and 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 you can put all different kinds of things because I promote everything all off of one account basically. Since I do so many different things, I don't want to open up an account for each one. It's too much work to try to
You
keep
know,
them all going. So I just try to promote everything under one account.
I used three. I'd used TikTok. I'm still learning how to use that. I haven't. TikTok is a weird animal, but I do think that TikTok is probably going to go by the way of Twitter before too much longer. Um, Unfortunately, we know that TikTok got bought out basically by the right. I know we don't talk politics here, but hey, I'm just telling you how it is. Got bought by Larry Ellison from Oracle, and he's a very well-known Trumper. So I could see TikTok going the way of Twitter in another year or so. Um, Instagram, yeah, that's pretty popular too. Facebook is good, though it's confusing as hell. They want you to promote. They sit there and they want you to come promote with us. Come with us. Start a group. Be interactive. And then once you start doing that, and then they get mad at you for doing that. So it's a little confusing about some of these platforms. Um, as far as them make for you, how do you because this is one question I want to know. How do you make Facebook work for you as far as Facebook's groups? Is it totally up to the individual, or is there a secret of how to make your because everybody's posting. No one, there's no engagement, and I'm guilty of that too. I don't probably engage nearly as much as I should have. How important is engagement when you're on somebody else's platform, like a TikTok or a Facebook?
I think it's
What
super
do you think?
important. That's how you build. So my Facebook gets pretty good. Um, it kind of Facebook is a weird animal. I'll have days where like
It
I'll
is.
put something up and I get like 5 people like it, and I'll have days I put stuff up and 200 people like it. And I don't really know what the difference is. I try to just post all different kinds of things. I do notice that people on Facebook are relatively morbid. You could post that you won the lottery and 3 people will say something nice, and then you can say that your dog died, and you'll get 8,000 people liking it. So I think that that's a little bit of a weird thing for me. Instagram just seems to be um, very friendly, but the only way you get interaction on these websites is to give interaction. If you put stuff up and you just expect people to like it and comment stuff, and you don't ever like and comment anybody else's stuff, it'll never grow. You have to
Right.
actually put some time and effort into it, which I do. I put a lot of time and effort into, especially Instagram and TikTok. I watch a lot of other people's things and I like them, and I share things that I like a lot. Trying to keep the engagement going.
Anybody who knows me at all know that one of the things I try to do too, and Cindy can tell you this, is I absolutely love to hype up. Anything that Cindy has ever posted up is instantly liked and shared all the time, no matter what it is. I'm doing that, and I do that for a lot of people. I just feel like, you know what? Let me share it out. Let me just do that. I want to
I do
help
that.
out. I want to spread it. Yeah, I don't have a footprint. I got like 400 people, but that's 400 people more than would see it rather than if I didn't hit the share button. Um, yeah, I agree with that. Oh, I'm not mentioning it for that. I'm just saying how I like to hype up very talented people. I like to support very talented people. And so I will hype up. Let's see. Oh yeah, yes, Jamie. Jamie's mentioning her mom is the demon at the end of the first Haunted. That ending of that movie is absolutely priceless. That will have you in tears. I kid you not. If you watch that movie, it's a great movie. The last episode is that will have you in tears. You'll be laughing. It's awesome. Um, a lot of talent up in Canada. A lot of talent.
Yes.
Um, so, as far as horror goes, you mentioned you also mentioned the collectibles. How long have you been collecting? That seems to be a very hot market right now. And do you ever do you ever promote other collectors, other people in the various communities that you're in? Do you have them on as a guest on the central show that you have with Ron?
No, I keep it kind of separate because the show with Ron is an interview show, and the collectible show is just about collectibles. Even though I do ask all the actors to come on, like they have action figures, like if they do, like I just ordered. So we had Courtney Gaines from Children of the Corn on last week,
Ah, yes.
and then I saw Trick or Treat Studios makes a like a 3.5 inch Malachi action figure, so I actually just bought it. It'll come in a couple of days, because I buy all the action figures of everybody who's been on the show.
Oh, that's
Um,
very cool.
to have them, and then so it makes it a lot of fun. So like I just did the Courtney Gaines one. Like I have like 10 different John Barrowman action figures because he has a lot of them. Um,
Right, right.
and so it just depends on who the people are. I always get the action figures if they've got them, and you can find them. Sometimes you can't find them.
You mentioned Courtney Gaines, and that brings up another good question for me to ask you. He was actually my first major celebrity guest on this show, and I talked to you as well about this a little bit. But to me, it was like the hardest thing for me to get ready for this show tonight is like, what can you ask Jimmy that he hasn't really been asked before? And it's like I can't think of anything. It's one of the things I try to do. Very, like I will ask questions that I don't want to ask, like, everybody. If you have Courtney Gaines on, I told my friend Hobbs, who was co-hosting with me, I said, this is something I wanted. There's one thing I want to do or not do. I don't really want to talk to him about Children of the Corn. I will talk to him about anything other than that because he's already been asked those questions 10,000 times. Let's find something else that we could talk about. And so we end up talking. We had him for 25 minutes. We got him for 45 minutes because we were talking with him about his art and his music. He was
Yes,
really
we
glad
get
to be able to talk.
music.
Yes. So my question is, what kind of questions what questions do you come up with the guests that that you're trying to keep it fresh, you're trying to keep it relevant, and you don't want to talk to them about the same thing they've already talked about 10,000 times. So how do you prepare for a guest like that?
Most of the times, something that I like somebody in is something that's obscure. Like a lot of times, we'll have people on and they'll be like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you brought that up." That movie up. Or like today we had a guy who was on Models Inc., which was a TV show I loved back in the day, and he was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe he's been in all these huge things," and I brought up Models Inc. So I usually bring up something that's obscure because that's usually a lot of times what I like the best, from people that have been on the show. Um, and so I think we do that a lot. And then, my co-host, just asks like all crazy, wild stuff. So like we never have to worry about asking because he doesn't research the guests at all. He just gets on and starts talking. So he doesn't know who they are. So he has no idea. And that way everything that comes out of his mouth is super fresh.
I like that because to me that's just like talking to you. Like how do you talk to a guy who's had over 1.3 billion people to check him out, and what kind of questions can you ask him where you like get him to think about it for a split second, then come and answer it. I know I haven't done that tonight, but I'm having fun
Oh no,
trying.
you're fine. No, you're fine. I want to do one other plug too. So
Sure.
Cindy and Jennifer James and Ming Bowd and I, we are working on our first vertical TV series. And it's an AI vertical TV series. I know not everybody's good with AI, but I'm fabulous with AI. And it's called Mothman Red Eyes Rising, based on a book that I have written and released. It's available on like Barnes and Noble and Amazon and on JimmyStarAuthor.com. And we've got our first 2.5 episodes done. We're not going to release it till we have about 6 or 7. So we have time to keep it all going and everything. But it's a really cool, unique story, and I think people are going to like it a lot. And if you check out JimmyStarAuthor.com, you can see because I've written about 30 books and a bunch of them are horror, and they're really good. And a few of them are going to be made into movies soon.
Models Inc. was amazing. That's right. I remember that. I think Models Inc. came out on Fox, didn't it?
Yep.
Okay. God, the stuff that you hold in your brain, right? That's yeah. AI. Speaking of AI, so you like AI? I mean, are you okay with AI as far as if it's original AI? Like I don't want to see like the thing with Val Kilmer that's coming out. I don't want to see that. I have no interest in that.
Yeah, I probably
Uh,
won't want to see that either. I'm okay with AI as a enhancement tool. Okay, so my vertical series is all AI. It's all fake characters. We made them all up in AI, and I'm fine with that. I'm not fine with like, taking real people and throwing them into AI, but I am really okay with like if you're using AI for buildings blowing up and things that you could never do realistically because they've been using AI for years in movies. You're just really finding out about it like lately, but people have been doing it for years with green screen
sure.
and computer technology. So I'm not okay taking Brad Pitt and turning him into an AI person and being in a movie, but I'm okay with making a Brad Pitt movie where he's doing a car chase and the car hits a building and blows up and that's all AI getting blown up. So I don't think
Uh,
the people should be replaced, and I don't think ultimately I don't think they will. But I also think that there's a lot of people, a lot of things that you can make with all AI, everything in it, and I think people are going to like it. As you can tell by now, there's so many there's so many cool vertical series that are out right now that are predominantly AI, and they're really really good. And we're working with Arcana Labs. Cindy wrote that in there. So we work with Arcana Labs, and they're the one of the only two AI companies that are approved by Netflix. Yeah, so hopefully we're going
uh,
to get our push up on Netflix.
Cindy's mentioning we're working in collaboration with Arcana.
Yeah,
I think if it's just strictly, you're right. I mean, you're right. I mean, we're all raising our hands over AI right now, and I'm one of them. But in actuality, AI has been here for a long time, but we just call it CGI. It's
right.
really what it is. I mean, if you go back to watch any bad sci-fi shark movie and you see those fake sharks, and you're going like, "Well, that's bad CGI." Well, guess what else it is? It's also
AI.
AI. Yeah. It's just switched the name over. I mean, you see some of the new shark movies that are coming out. Like the one that just recently dropped, and Thrash or something like that. And you look at this, you look at it, and you go like, "Holy crap! Those are all it's all bad. It's all CGI." Um,
And actually,
I just,
that
I'm
movie
just, I just want to see people. I just don't want to see people.
Stark Thrash is directed by Marcel Walsh, very, very good friend of ours. He's also got a bunch of movies. Blind is a really good movie, and Pretty Boy and Brute 1976. So he's made a ton of movies without AI, but then he does those movies for like who's the big company now? I forgot the name, but he's doing a bunch of them though for one of those company. I forgot it.
Probably
Lionsgate.
Lionsgate. Probably
Yeah,
Lionsgate.
like some of those people like that, and he's a brilliant, brilliant director. And Shark Thrash, we didn't go to the premiere because I have a kidney stone and I couldn't go. Uh, but he's a brilliant, brilliant director, and if you want to see stuff without AI, watch Pretty Boy. It's one of the best low budget indie horror movies I've ever seen in my life.
I liked his movies. I watched and reviewed Brute 1976. Because I love Ron Murray. Ron Murray can't do no wrong. Have you ever had Ron Murray on your show?
No, I don't even know who that is.
He is fantastic. He did art exploitation, and he also did Xenophobia.
Oh, I know what
Uh,
that
he,
is. Okay.
he's fabulous. It was through him I did and I'm not saying this to be for any sort of praise or anything, but through him I've done some reviewed some really incredible movies, including my first gay horror film, which was
Oh,
called
cool.
Latent Image, which was fantastic. That movie was a banger.
I love
So
it.
I mean, yeah, Ron Murray is amazing. His company's Xenophobia is just absolutely amazing. You mentioned Martyrs. I love Martyrs too, but I got one. I'm not sure if you can handle it though, but I got one for you that Ron put out. It's called The Coffee Table.
Never heard of it, so I'll have to look it up.
Yeah,
I'll write it down.
look look it up and watch it, and then come back and say, "Thanks, you son of a bitch," because a lot of people have been saying that too because it's so bad. It's so disturbing. It's so disturbing. But I love Martyrs. I love Martyrs. I'm with you though. It's not an easy watch. Is there a thing? Is there a limit to you as far as your level of horror? Is there a limit to your watch? What you will watch? What you won't watch? I heard you mention torture porn. There's various levels of that. Um, Are there
I
some
like
that
Saw.
even?
I like the Saw movies. You know, if it gets much more than that, I probably don't know that I would watch it. But because I've been a fan for such, uh, because I'm such a big fan of Saw, and because I had James Wan and Lee Winnell on the show, you know, back when the first movie came out a million years ago, and I've had a bunch of people from Saw come on the show and stuff. I've always been a big fan. Um, but other than that, because more my speed is like the Lost Boys, even though I've always been a big Hellraiser, you know, fan, and Jason, the regulars, Hellraiser, Jason. You know, next week I have coming on my show the guy from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Isn't that funny? I forgot his name. His name is you know who else was a really big show for me? I had Philip Falcone, who's the producer of the Terrifier movies. We got
Oh,
like 13 million people watched it, I think. I have Alan Danziger coming on next week from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and
awesome. Isn't
so
it cool
now,
to get some of those? Isn't it cool to get some of those guests from Legacy series like that?
oh yeah, I love it. Like I've always been friends with a whole bunch of them. I was actually friends with Gunnar Hansen. Used to see him at all the
Mhm.
conventions, but we would like hang out, and I was on a couple panels with him in the past, and he's just a really cool, you know, just a cool guy. Most of the people are. I haven't met that many people who are not that friendly. There's only one person, and I'm not even going to mention his name, but there's one person who to me is like just a dick, and he's really the only one we've ever had. Um, that I've ever had, like, a problem with. He actually, like, I was supposed to do costume design for a film, and he didn't want me to work on the film, and I don't even know him. He's just a dick. Uh, but in general, like, and I'm not including, like, Tom Savini, because Tom Savini is just he's just hit or miss or good or bad, and, you
Right.
know, you don't really know what these people are going through because we're not famous like they are, you know, people are pawing at them all the time, you know, so
Oh
maybe you
yeah.
just catch them at a bad time because like, people don't let them eat and let them go to the bath they don't let them do anything. You know, so it could just be, you know, that you catch them on a bad time because but if they're at a convention, they should be nice to everybody. You know,
Yes.
I do you know, if you see them out on the street, that's one thing, but if they're getting paid to be at a convention, they should be nice to everybody.
Agreed. Yeah, I agree with that. 100%. Let's see. Hey Dominic, how are you? Our good friend Dominic coming in here and saying hello. Um, let's see. Oh yeah. And you have a big film meeting in the morning. That's right. I'm hoping Cindy's will get some Hallmark going. Because I really like to talk to some people from Hallmark, and that leads me to this question, Jimmy. And I'll let this be our last question because it'll go out on a high note, and that is, who should five Holy Grail guests that you would love to have on your show?
Oh, it's not hard. Let's see. And it's funny because I've had my favorite people. This is gonna sound stupid, and even Ron thinks I'm stupid for this one, but I'm a big Molly Ringwald fan. And I would love to have
Okay.
Molly Ringwald. Breakfast Club and stuff like that is like my you know, all-time favorite. One of my all-time favorite movies. Pretty Woman is my favorite non-horror movie. And so I love Julia Roberts. I'd love to have Richard Gere. I would love
Interesting.
uh, in horror. I've been trying for years to get Tobin Bell. That would be a big get for me if I could get Tobin Bell to come on the show. And I think you know, he doesn't do a lot of interviews. I'd like to get Keanu Reeves
Yeah.
as a guest. You know, he doesn't do a
I,
lot of
I,
interviews, but I think he would be a lot of fun to have. So those are probably like some of my five. Tom Hardy's a big one. I'd love Tom Hardy. I'd love Charlize Theron. I did the
just
costume
not
design on
just
Too
not
Fast.
together. Let's not
You're
have
right.
them on together.
And I've also, you know, I did the costume design for Too Fast, Too Furious, and I would love to have. I was, I wouldn't say I was friends with Paul Walker, but I met him on the set and talked with him a bunch, you know, during the film. So Paul Walker would have been a cool one, and Vin Diesel would like any of those Fast and Furious people because I love all those people. Jason Momoa, I'd love Jason Momoa, and it'll happen. You know, everything takes
Yeah.
time. Everything just takes time. You know, and eventually you'll, if you stick to it and you stay persistent, you know, I go back to people like every 6 months and ask them again and again and again, and eventually they come on.
Yes.
Uh,
I was gonna ask you what do you now? Do you have a? I guess I do have more questions. Um, do you have a policy to when you ask, like I tell people all the time, out of 100 people that I ask to come on and do the show, I get told no about 98 times. Do you have, I mean, it's like, do you have because I'll ask, I'll send them a note, say, would you be interested in doing the show? And I'll send that to them. And then I, before Instagram got totally asshole with it, you could sit there, you could write a question, and then you can come back and say about a month later and sit there and say, I'm just circling back to see if there's any interest in possibly coming on to this show. Now they've done that. They've done away with that. Now, they have to respond to you in order for you to be able to ask them again. But do you
Unless you,
have,
unless they follow you. If they follow you, you're okay.
yeah, oh, that's true. That's true. Follow. I know TikTok has actually gotten better at that. TikTok was like that too. So it's like, they'll have to follow you in order to answer this question, or you'll be able to ask them another question. So sometimes, you can only ask the one question and then hope that they follow you.
Look, I want to tell you something, Ed. It doesn't matter what your level is. I get about 10 responses for every 100 that I send out. So I'm not doing that much better than you. I might be asking bigger people, than you are possibly, but
Yeah.
it's always going to be that way. It's just, it's a complicated thing just in general, and you just got to catch people, when they're in a good place. But I have lots of people that I must have asked 10 or 15 times that didn't come on, and then they finally came on, and I mean a lot of people. So it's
Yeah,
just kind of like.
really.
It also
Uh,
depends on who you know. Like a big get for me was Brian Austin Green. I was a huge Beverly Hills 90210 fan, and I had met him at a bunch of different events and asked him to come on, and then he didn't. And he never even responded. And then his publicist contacted me and wanted to put him on, and I was like, okay, and then he came
yeah,
on, and now he's super nice, and we got hundreds of thousands of plays on it.
yeah, yes. I would love to have him on the show too, because he did a series of movies called Cross. Loved it.
Yeah,
Loved it.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
great.
You saw that too?
We
It's a
talked about
great
that.
little series. Yeah, it's a
I
great series.
I watch horror movies are my favorite, but I watch genre. I watch films a lot of times based on who's in them. Like Lance Henriksen's my favorite, so even if he makes a total turd, I watch it because like I'm a big Lance Henriksen fan, and I kind of
Yeah,
do that with everybody. If I'm a big fan, Malcolm McDowell, I watch everything Malcolm McDowell's in because I'm a big fan of Malcolm McDowell.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so
I know a lot of
anyway,
people's I know a lot of people's introduction to Malcolm McDowell was Clockwork Orange. Mine, my introduction to Malcolm McDowell was Time After Time.
great movie.
Oh,
Great
fantastic movie.
movie. He's a really nice
Um,
guy too. He's been on the show. And we've walked a couple red carpets with him and stuff. So he's really good. But we have to get to a point that we can stop anyway because I told Ron I was only going to be on the air for about an hour.
oh, okay. I succeeded. I got an extra half hour out of it. Jimmy, I can't thank you enough for coming on here and not only sharing your knowledge, but also being patient enough to help us out with it. Because I'll use what you told me tonight. Hopefully, I can make my show a little bit better place for people and give me a boost of confidence. You and Ron are definitely the best out there right now, as far as I'm concerned, when it comes down to the interview game. Like I said, I've watched your show, 30, 40 times. I know a lot of the people, we share a lot of the same people on our shows, and that really tells me I'm doing something right.
I know you're doing
So
great. You're doing great. Just
uh,
keep doing it.
I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate Cindy for helping set this up, and I hope that you come back and visit us again after Bunny Man. We'll have you come back with
Absolutely.
your.
We'll
We'll
do
come
the
back and
cast.
top it
We'll
up.
bring the cast on for you. Do me a favor and just send me the link of this when it's on YouTube, when it's actually on YouTube, and we'll start sharing it everywhere.
All right, we'll do that. All right, we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up here, and just let you guys know. I want to thank the chat, of course. You guys are rocking it tonight. I appreciate that. Feel free to share us out if you can, if you will. Let's see, Patrick. Not sure if you are seeing this, but we would be happy to set up a follow-up interview to talk about the upcoming horror films. We definitely will. Yeah, we will definitely do that. Tomorrow afternoon at 3 p.m. we are back for a special time because we're going to the UK, and we'll be talking speaking of horror movies, we'll be speaking with actor Owen Llewellyn, who is one of the stars of the R.I.P. Man, which is now going to be a franchise. So come meet Alden Pick. He is one that you won't soon forget. I promise you that. And we'll be chopping it up at 3 p.m. All right, that is it for us. Thanks again so much, and we'll see you soon. Jimmy, thanks again so much, and we'll talk soon.
Bye bye. See you, everybody.